Hello and welcome back to the Irish Racing YouTube channel. It's finally here, it's Cheltenham week, and I'm delighted to be joined by Gavin Lynch for a special series of podcasts all through the week. The Irish Edge for Cheltenham, sponsored by Boyle Sports. Plenty to get stuck into. Gavin, look, I suppose it's the week we've all been waiting for. We've been talking about it all year long, but it's finally here. Cheltenham, what does it mean to you?
Astrid, it's the best 4 days of the year, isn't it? Emma, how are you? Can't wait. Tuesday is probably the best day of the week. Obviously, we'll gallop into Champ on the Friday, but I think always for me, the Tuesday, like what a start, the Supreme, and then the Arkle, and then obviously the champion hurdlers pushed back to 4 o'clock. Somebody, I remember being in Cheltenham one year, and it was late at night, and somebody said to me, "Geez, Gavin, you love Cheltenham so much, you'd walk to it." And I said, "I wouldn't walk to it, but I'd cycle." So the following year, 3 of us cycled to Cheltenham, and we raised money for charities. That'll tell you how much we love it.
Very good. And we're recording this on Monday. Got declarations through yesterday for Tuesday's racing. So we're going to focus on Tuesday today, naturally enough. But the ground, I suppose, will be a big topic of conversation throughout the week. Not a whole pile of rain forecast. And they watered it. They're calling it good to soft at the moment. Gavin, how do you think it's going to play out?
Yeah, I'm just a bit worried about it, to be honest. Somebody texted me there this morning that a person walked the course and said that they've never seen it that good. To me, like, I don't know. I think the ground should be soft for Cheltenham. Like last year's, the winning time for the first race last year was 4:12. The previous year, when Michael O'Sullivan won on Marine National, it was 3:59. And the year before that, Constitution Hill was 3:44. Now, obviously, Constitution Hill was the best horse of those 3, but I'm just saying the ground is a huge factor in times. And really, the clerk of the course, his job should be to make the champion or the Supreme Novices hurdle run at around 4 minutes. Like lots of Irish and English people go to France on holidays for the lovely weather. But every time you see Otay and Longchamp, it's soft to heavy. So I just think it can't be that hard to get the ground soft at Cheltenham. I think it should be soft. I heard the clerk of the course saying that he put 5 mils on some part of the old course and 10 mils in other parts. 5 mil is not enough. I just hope they don't do the first race tomorrow in like 3:45 or 3:50, because that's not a good sign for the rest of the week. Make sure you check out at the time of the Supreme tomorrow.
Yeah, could be a bit of a worry, I suppose, throughout the week, because you can't imagine they'll want to water once racing has started either, and there's not a whole pile of rain forecast either. So we'll definitely want to keep an eye on for your selections throughout the week. But I suppose we'll drive straight into the racing from here. We've got plenty to chat about. We're going to go through all of the races throughout the first day, and the first race we'll chat about the Michael O'Sullivan Supreme Novice Hurdle. And I suppose team throughout the week, we've got a hot Willie Mullins favourite in here. Kopek de Boards, I suppose, impressed everyone, I suppose, when he won at the Dublin Racing Festival last time, stepped up massively on his performance. He's the 10-11 favourite. Next in the betting, Romeo Coolio for Gordon Elliott and Jack Kennedy, who's making his comeback to Cheltenham. Salvador Mundi, Patrick Mullins and Willie Mullins about 10-1. Willie has half the field in here, 12 runners. So you'll get the 3 places anyway. But I thought an interesting stat: in the last 10 renewals, Willie has had the favourite in all but 1 running. He actually won it that time in 2019. I think Fakir Darius and Al Dancer were sent off joint favourites, but Classical Dream won it. But interestingly, 7 of those favourites have been beaten. Now, I suppose to take to note, only 1 of those have been sent off odds, and that's Appreciated, who dotted up, of course. Those stats, Gavin, look, probably looking into it too much. Would it worry you at all? These punters seem to latch on to the Mullins favourite, both this Kopek de Boards. A lot of confidence around him.
I wouldn't worry me that much. It's obviously a bit frightening that Willie always has the favourite. It'll show you how dominant he is in National Hunt racing. Kopek de Board goes in here. The most important stat is that a rating of 157. Jumped terribly at Christmas for Patrick. Jumped much better for Paul the last day. He was wicked impressive. Over the 2 days of DRF, he probably was the most impressive performance of the 2 days. He was on his toes that day. He sweated up a little bit, so all the eyes will be on him. I'd say if he blinks more than 10 times, people will be starting lashing onto it. I'd say he'll sweat up a little bit, etc. But first time in a hood, I'd say there'll be a lot of people willing to take him on at that price. I think it's a really hot Supreme. I do think he'll win it, but I think it's a really good race. Romeo Coolio is also a Grade 1 winner from Christmas. He's very uncomplicated. He travels very strongly. He's a bit like Brighterdaysahead. Huge cruising speed. Maybe doesn't quicken, but just stays going at the same pace. So he is an each way squeak. Salvatore Mundi's had 4 runs over hurdles, but he still hasn't copped onto life properly. The last day, jumped poorly. He was very, very keen. He's Patrick on board in the Grade 2 Moscow Flyer. The last day, his jumping, as I said, and he was too keen. But so he would want to really put his best foot forward to perform at his best. You have 2 7-year-olds in there, William Money and also Work Ahead for Henry. They ran against each other at Christmas. William Money didn't jump well that day. He was a bit keen as well. So Those two would have squeaks. Yeah, I think it's a really good race. Around C Carbo, I think there'll be lots of pace in the race. I'd imagine Paul would love to say third or fourth. Romeo Coolio will be up there as well. So I'd say it'll be a fast time. If everything goes well for Kopek to board, I think it'd be very hard to beat. He sets a very, very high standard.
Yeah, he does, and you imagine the fast pace will help him settle and all that. The hood, interesting when I saw a video of him this morning, and William Paul was saying they were happy with the hood being on anyway. So I think there was a stat floating around about horses in a first-time hood in Supreme doesn't normally go too well, but Willie has done it a few times in the past. Yeah, William Money, it would be fitting for him to storm up the hill in the race, running the memory of Michael O'Sullivan. He's definitely improving. He's got the first-time hood on as well, and Work Ahead has been latched on by plenty of people, and Henry's horses just seem to be coming back into form. But look, I'll probably be watching Kopek to boards in the parade ring. Like if he handles the occasion and this hood takes effect, I'd say, look, he looks like a bit of a monster. I actually did a preview on Saturday evening, and his owners were there, and like the confidence around this horse is massive. I was trying to make a case for Salvatore Mundi on the build up to the race, but there just seems to be no confidence around him at all. In the market, 10-1 there with Boyle Sports, and the Mullins Yard can't seem to have him over this Kopek to board. So look, I think keep an eye on him in the parade ring and on the way down to the start, because if he handles this occasion, I think he'd be fairly hard to beat in that one. We'll go on to the next, the Arkle. Stats for this one read much differently than the Supreme. Favourites have dominated. Only 2 favourites in the last 10 years have been beaten. And we've got another hot favourite in here, Majbur, for Willie Mullins and Mark Walsh. Only a 5-runner field. Look, he looks like a bit of a monster, Gav. Maybe people have been picking holes and he's jumping a small bit, saying maybe he was getting a bit low at these fences. But to be honest, I took positives from his jumping at the Dublin Racing Fest. I thought he was smart. He was able to kind of fix himself coming into a fence. And looking at the rest of them, Lotus Sud 9-2, Only by Night. Interesting that Gavin put her in here rather than the mares. Django Bay, Touch Me Not. I'd be disappointed if any of these could beat him, really.
Yeah, I think the Supreme, and by the way, well done Connections for giving it the Michael O'Sullivan name for the Supreme. That's brilliant. I think the Supreme is a very good race. I think this is a weak renewal of the Arkle, except for the favourite. He jumped a little bit to his left at, say, Fairy House, but he was much better going left-handed at Leopardstown. He did brush through 3 of them, but then you saw at the third last, he absolutely winged it. His stats on his jumping were very, very good. He got a high rating for it, even though he brushed through 3 of them. But if you watch the real good 2-mile chasers, such as Energamino over the years, they do kind of hit or brush through the odd one. So it's not necessarily a negative. You couldn't go around in an Arkle and jump like Gallopin Deschamps, who jumps them nice and high, etc. You'd spend too long in the air. So look, I think Django Bay, I think he's going to struggle over 2 miles. Lotus Sud and Only by Night might be held up. I'd imagine Touch Me Not will maybe be up in the van there with Majbur like he was at the DRF. I'd imagine Keith will put a target on Harry Skelton's back and follow him around. If you want to finish second, I'd say the later you challenge, the better. If you start taking on the Jolly, the favourite, coming down the hill or turning in, you could pay for it later on. So tactically, it's going to be interesting, but I'd be very surprised. To me, Majbur is probably the bet of the week.
Yeah, I'd have him up with the bankers as well. Maybe in the betting without market, like you were saying, there'd be plenty of pace on here. And I imagine Keith will probably take his time on Only by Night. I thought she was really impressive when she won in Cork on Hilly Way Day. She wasn't maybe as impressive next time in Exeter, but just the way she might be ridden here, I'd say she'd be ridden to maybe pick off horses. I wouldn't be surprised if she was the one to follow Majbur home. So I think she's about 130 in the betting without market with Boyle Sports. So that might be another angle if you wanted to move away from the short price favourite in this one. So we'll go on to the first handicap of the meeting. We've got plenty across the week as well with all the changes they've brought in. But the UK trainers dominate the Ultima. I think if you go back to 2006 when Dundee stormed up the hill for Tony Martin and Ruby Walsh to find the last Irish-trained winner of this. How many years more can I pull out that stat for these Cheltenham previews? I'm not sure, but the betting seems to suggest that the UK have the upper hand in this one as well. It's about 6-1, the Changing Man. I think 13-2, Broadway Boy, 13-2, Cate Dore. 9-1 with Stop Tour, 10-1 Krabilly for the O'Neill team, 10-1 Henry's Friend, and 12-1 you have to go down to find the shortest of the Irish in the betting, Melina Girl. It's about 16-1 bar those. Boyle Sports are betting each way 6 places, which will be a help in this ultra competitive 24-runner handicap field. Gavin, did you have a selection in the Ultima?
I reckon if you gave people 5 horses and you took the rest of the field, I think they'd sooner take the rest of the field. It looks really, really impossible. You have 20 odd. They'll go a right good gallop early on. You'll need to jump really, really well. I'll give you 2 against the field at 10-1 and 16-1. You mentioned Krabilly there is 10-1. 9. 6 places is a help. Was second in the plate last year over 2 miles 5 off 140, and surprisingly got outpaced that day, and then stayed on very well at the death. And I think the step up on trip would be no harm. Couple of runs this season. It's down to 138, so dropped 2 pounds, 2 pounds lower than the plate last year. For John Joe, I could see him run a big race. And the other one at a big price is Sequestered. It bolted up at Christmas in a handicap chase over 3 miles. First time in a handicap. And then the last day, it was second to Back to Normal in Leopardstown over 2 miles 5. And the third horse has won since. And the three of them were way clear of the rest. I think the step back up and trip is no harm. Now, it's off 144, I think. But the jockey claims 5. So I think Sequestered, if he didn't get into a great rhythm the last day in the first mile of the race. He looked to be in the spot of bother, but then got into the race and looked like a winner at one stage. I think Back to Normal was incredibly well handicapped. I think time will show that from the last day. But if Sequestered gets into a nice rhythm in the first mile, I could see him definitely getting involved.
We're bidding for the Gilligan team to upset those UK winning stats. So 16-1, nice each way shout for Sequestered. I was along the same lines with you with Kirbilly. I think 10-1, like you said, he was backed, I think, from 5-1 into 7-2 in the ring last year for the plate. 2 pounds lower here. He's been dropped 4 pounds for his last 2 runs. Look, he's been beaten a long way, but I think he's only tried the trip once. He tried 3 miles in Aintree. Kind of hard to conclude he didn't stay at that day. I think his jumping really let him down. He kind of made a bad mistake 2 out when he was just starting to get involved. So I think he's well worth a shot, again, stepping back up and trip. And yeah, just the way he's been treated by the handicapper, you'd have to think he has a massive chance in here. But advising people to go for the UK runners, but I've also got a kind of an Irish one each way. Another selection, Melina Girl for Gavin Cromwell and Keith Donoghue. Look, she's got a good record around the track. She's only point size, but she's got a massive heart. She actually won a handicap at the November meeting, I think it was last year. She got a £10 hike for that, which you thought would be plenty, but she went back then for the December meeting and looked like she was nearly going to defy that hike. She fell 3 out, probably a bit far out to say she would have beaten Broadway Boy that day, but looked to be running well off her revised mark at least, which will give you hope that she can run well here again off 142. Maybe a bit out of form since, but I thought her last run kind of showed sparks in Exeter that she was coming back to herself again. Bundle is a stamina. She's an Ulster national winner. Likes the track. I think even though she's won on soft ground, she's a small mare, so this drying ground will help her jumping out of it anyway at least. So look, she's got a good record around the track. 12-1. Gavin Cromwell, Keith Donoghue. I'd say she wouldn't be a bad each way shout there when you got the 6 places. But we'll move on then to the second grade one of the day. It's the Mares Hurdle. I suppose a big shock at declaration stage, maybe not a massive shock, but Lossie Mount declared for this one for Willie Mullins and Paul Town, and maybe not what the fans wanted to see, but the connections have made the choice. They've gone for the race that she's had the better chance of winning, I suppose, and she's around a 4-6 favourite there with Boyle Sports. You're going to another Willie Mullins runner, Jade DeGrugy, 9-2 for Danny Mullins on board, 9-1 July Flower for Henry de Bromhead. She was impressive, winning on her, I suppose, come back to Henry's Yard last time at Leopardstown. Gavin, Lossie Mount, I suppose she's going to take a whole pile of beating here. But one thing I would say is it's a much more competitive race than the Mares Hurdle she won last year, I'd say.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. She beat Tell Me Something Girl last year, who obviously had some good form at the track. I would have said if Golden Ace was in here, I would have said definitely. I thought she was the main danger. She's gone to the Champion Hurdle, which was a bit of a surprise yesterday morning. Yeah, it's a little bit deeper than last year. What I'd say is that Lossie Mount obviously never travelled a yard in Kempton at Christmas, and then fell the last day, took a bad fall. I'm hearing that she's working well and that she has schooled well since. I think the one thing that's a massive help to her is the 2.5 miles. You could see there at a Kempton that maybe a really fast run race over 2 miles might have caught her out. She had a run in fair years previously, so you couldn't say it was necessarily fitness. So the 2.5 miles is a real boost to her. She has won on all types of ground, including here at Cheltenham on decent ground. So I don't think it's a massive problem, even though she probably would prefer it shorter, softer even. She jumps really well. Normally, big surprise the last day. I thought they went too fast in Leopardstown the last day. And obviously she normally is a brilliant jumper and just took her eye off the hurdle. Maybe she was distracted, we're not sure, with the seagulls, etc. But there'll be no seagulls at Cheltenham, that's for sure. Jade DeGrugy, not overly impressed with the last day, but the vibes are that she would have improved tons for that. She gave the second and third £12. July Flower was third in the French Champion Hurdle over 3 miles. A really fast run race like she got at Christmas would suit her, but I just don't see a huge amount of pace in this race. And if it turns into more of a test of speed and stamina, that won't suit her. So I would have been definitely afraid of Golden Ace if she was here. But for me, again, the favourite, probably very difficult to beat. Like, she got a rating of 160. Joyeuse may be the danger. Now, if you really want to handicap the Betfair hurdle, if that's what it's still called, of 123, she's up to 138. Lossiemouth has a rating of 160, so she's 22 pounds behind on ratings. But if it's more of a speed test and they don't go a fast gallop and the ground looks like being very, very good, maybe she could end up in second, and that's Joyeuse.
Yeah, interesting that Nikki has put her in here. I suppose a good judge of a Grade 1 horse. So even though her rating would suggest she's got plenty to find, she definitely looks like a mare on the up. Yeah, look, I with you, Lossiemouth, you know, put in here. The only maybe question mark how much of an effect that fall left on her. You know, you'll kind of know by her jumping early. I suppose she took a bit of a crasher that day, but looking outside of the favourite, I really like Calaconti there for Gordon Elliott and Jack Kennedy. Interesting that she's the only dart that Gordon has fired at this one. Up to a rating of 145 now. Her juvenile hurdle form reads really well. Like, she was up there with the likes of, she was second to Nürburgring one day. She actually beat Cargase, was it at Christmas in Leopardstown? She was fifth to her then after that. Like, her form kind of lines up with some of the top juveniles from last year. Nürburgring went on to win a Galway hurdle. Cargase was second in Triumph and second in Aintree. She was thrown in, I thought, on handicap debut at Downroyal, her first start of the year off America 130. She duly obliged that day, was second to Amsterdam. Then I don't think there was any shame in that. That was over 2 miles. Amsterdam was being touted as maybe a dark horse of the champion hurdle at the time. She went on then and she met July Flower next time in Leopardstown. I just thought maybe the way the race was run that day, like, she was left in front, plenty far from home, and Rachel kind of had the target on her back a long way up the straight. They missed a hurdle up the straight as well, which made it a kind of a lonely one up for Calaconti. I wouldn't be totally shocked to see her reverse that form at all. She was giving her £5 that day as well, July Flower. So the winning margin, the weight reversal, I think the way the race was run, I'd say probably could be a mare. She hasn't done a whole pile of running. She's only seven runs over hurdles, I think, so far. She could be on the up, rating of 145. Look, I find it hard to see her beating Lossiemouth realistically, but 16 to 1, I think she's worth a good shout there each way for the Gordon Elliott team. But we'll go on to the big one of the day, the champion hurdle. You were saying a bit of a surprise at declaration stage. Golden Ace takes her chance here, but it's all about Constitution Hill versus Brighter Days Ahead. 8 to 13 Constitution Hill, 2 to 1 Brighter Days Ahead. Last year's winner, State Man, interesting first time cheek pieces, 8 to 1 for Paul Townend. Golden Ace, 33s, Winter Fog. Burdett Road, actually, an interesting that he takes his chance here. I thought the word was last week that he was going to go for the county hurdle, but he's lining up here instead. I suppose it'll go straight into Gavin. Constitution Hill versus Brighter Days Ahead. What's your thoughts?
I think it's very interesting. I can't see myself having a bet. I'm kind of sitting on the fence. Probably change my mind every day. So very, very happy to watch it. I think it could be possibly the race of the week if things pan out what we expect. King of Kingsfield to make the running. It'll be very interesting what they do with Burdett Road. Likes to be up there, but are they going to shoot themselves in the foot by going that? It's going to be a really fast gallop. Brighter Days Ahead will sit second or third, and then Nico will be behind her. And then you'd imagine Stateman with Paul and the first time Hood will be behind Nico. Very hard to fancy Stateman on, his run at Christmas was poor. Obviously he won the last day, but to me he looked a tired horse at the finish after Lossiemouth came down at halfway. The question is Constitution Hill back to his best? Nicky was at last half full man. I suppose you have to be a horse trainer to be getting up every morning at 7 o'clock in the cold and in the rain. If he's back to his best from 2 years ago, his time in the Supreme Novices Hurdle was a course record at 3:44. Brighter Days Ahead at Christmas in Leopardstown was 3:45. So 2 incredible performances they have in their CVs. He's rated 175, she's rated 163. She gets £7. I think it's going to be a fantastic race. She'll take it up coming down the hill, coming to 2 out. Nico will be sitting in behind. The crowd will start to roar. I think it's just going to be a huge moment. If Constitution Hill is back to his best, of course he wins. You just have a little bit of worries about wind and colic and stuff. His race course gallop in December was very poor, and then he went to Kempton and he won, but he only won by a couple of lengths from Lossiemouth, and actually Nico had to hit him for the first time ever. The horse 2 years ago used to win every race by 10 lengths, But I would say that's his first run of the year. I could see him improving tons for that. He was good the last day. So it's just how close he is. He's an 8-year-old, she's 6. I just can't wait to watch it. I think it's going to be an absolute crackerjack.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it all kind of pans out as planned, because I suppose there's been a couple of disappointments in the champion hurdle division. Like there's been some real good clashes, like you mentioned the Kempton race, but it kind of looked like Lossiemouth was nearly out of it from the start that day. She never went the gallop, but still managed to get him off the bridle. But like you said, it was his first start in a long time. You'd imagine he'll come on plenty for that. And then when Lossiemouth fell against Stateman, so there's been a few disappointments, but look, it's I won't have any financial interest in this, to be honest. I can't see myself backing anything in the race, but I am a big Brighter Days Ahead fan. Just whether or not she can replicate that performance again, as she did at Leopardstown, like that was actually incredible to watch. I can't really. It's kind of going back a long time to see a hurdle performance when you really said wow like that. Like if she can go that gallop and quicken off it again, like in Leopardstown that you were saying, they're going too fast, but she managed to pick up after the last. It was incredible. And I suppose a question mark might be how far can King of Kingsfield actually take her in this. You can imagine Constitution Hill would be looming large, turning down the hill there as they rise up. But Burdett Road, maybe last week I was saying it might be better for her that he was going for the county. You know, there won't be a massive competition to get the pace for himself and King of Kingsfield. But maybe he might carry her a bit further into the straight, which might be a plus for her as well. I know she likes to have something in front of her, kind of helps her jumping as well, I think. But look, it's going to be a cracker. Same as you, I won't be having any massive bets in it anyway, at least. So look, Stateman, first time cheek pieces will sharpen him up a small bit. I find it hard to see him winning though, realistically. Maybe he might pick up a bit of pieces if anything strange happens. But yeah, I'm probably marginally with Brighter Days Ahead, but it'll be a cracker either way, whatever happens. But we'll move on to the next handicap of the day, the Fred Winter 440, another 24 runner handicap field to get stuck into. Again, Boyle Sports paying 6 places in this one. There are too many handicaps across the week, I think so, but this is one I actually don't mind. I always like the Fred Winter. It's kind of an intriguing one to get stuck into. And the current market leader, Stencil, for the Noel George and Amanda Zotto home team, 5-1. Total Look for Gavin Cromwell and Keith Donoghue, 5-1. Put your hands together, 6-1. Beyond Your Dream, 6-1 is 10 bar those. No doubt that Joseph O'Brien and JP McManus have a fairly strong hold in this. Joseph has 2 of the top 4 in the betting, and JP has 3 of the 4. Gavin, are you with the Joseph team or the JP team here? Are you looking something more down the line?
I think Beyond Your Dreams is interesting, but her jumping is very poor. Now, how she won the last day in Ferio, she definitely has a great engine. Showed a great turn of foot, but her jumping, she'd want to jump a lot better to win this race. Put your hands together, ran against Older Horse the last day. Let's say that the horse wasn't knocked about by Mark Walsh late on against Collaborative. Being kept for this race, you'd imagine, would have a squeak. I think what's going to be interesting to come out of this race is the related form going on to the Triumph Hurdle on Friday. Stencil was second to East India Dock, well stuffed, travelled really strongly to the bend, and then was put in his place by East India Dock. You also have related form going to, say, Hello Neighbour with Wendrock and Sonny Bill, etc. They were well behind it at the DRF. So Total Look for me is very interesting. If I'd give you 2 against the field, one would be Total Look. 6-1, I think he'll drift. I think he has to go off a little bit bigger than that. He's worse off the weights than the 2 horses that run against it at Cheltenham. Massive eye catch at the last day in Punchestown. He's been given £7. The talk is that maybe he's not that far behind Hello Neighbour. So the only thing is, I think 22 runners on the old course for 4-year-olds, I think it's crazy. I don't mind. The handicaps on the newer course are easier because there's more room, especially coming down the hill and swinging in the county hurdle. There's generally a lot more room. The Coral Cup and the Fred Winter, 22 runners on the old course is so tight. So you need a huge amount of luck. I think Total Look, wearing first-time cheek pieces maybe to sharpen up his jumping. His jumping could be a dot better, but he definitely is an engine. And the other one, I think, Sonny Bill, who ran behind Hello Neighbour the last day. Paul only had 1 ride over hurdles last year at the festival, which he won the county hurdle on Absurd. He rides Sonny Bill here. He's not doing that for no reason. You have to remember that this hurdle that he ran in the last day has the last 4 winners of the Triumph Hurdle. So it's grade 1 form. The horse that was just ahead of him back in Allian has won since. He's 14-1. Paul Townend riding at first time tongue tie for Willie. That would have an each way squeak. And again, I think most of the bookmakers are going like 6 places, which is great.
Yeah, 6 places will be a big help in this one, but I was along the same lines as you. I think Total Look, and interesting the first time cheek pieces on as well. I was just watching back his his three hurdle starts so far. Like, he was rated 90 odd in the flat, so obviously a horse with massive ability. And he won first time out in Navan, and I'd say he probably won. Well, I think he did win a lot better than the winning margin would suggest. He kind of was starting to stretch away from the second horse that day, and kind of bunny hopped the last and gave her a bit of a chance to catch up a bit. But went to Cheltenham then. Was third to Wendrock Hills. Like, I can't understand. My only worry about him is he got £7 by the BHA handicap, and it's kind of hard to understand. Like, Wendrock Hills beat him that day, and they've kind of come to the conclusion that Total Look should get £3 more than him. Sorry, there was a swing. There was a bit of a swing in the weights anyway. So like, Wendrock Hills beat Total Look that day, and he's given him £6 today, which is a bit mind-boggling. But his first time cheek pieces, I think, are interesting because he actually looked quite keen the first day when he won in Navan, and then he went to Cheltenham and it kind of looked like Keith was maybe trying to settle him a small bit. And then, like you said, massively eye-catching and punches down next time. Like, 5-1 there with Boyle Sports, if he drifted out a bit on the day, but like Gavin Cromwell is well able to lay one out for the handicap. And it's interesting what you said about him not being too far off Hello Neighbour, because I was watching back an interview that Gavin did after he won his maiden hurdle in Navan, and he was maybe asked about grade 1 targets down the line, and kind of mentioned that he had another good horse and they maybe might try to split him, so maybe he mightn't be too far off that grade 1 form. And like you said, a good horse can emerge from this one, so I'm with Total Look even to try and defy that £7 rise by the handicapper, which is a bit harsh in my opinion. But we'll move on to the last race of the day, another handicap. It changed one, the National Hunt Chase. Grade 2 race all along, but it's been changed to a handicap now. Look, if you can take positives for it, I suppose you get a full size field, 18 runners, in comparison to where maybe small fields when it was being run as a grade 2, which that big field means we get 5 places from Boyle Sports, and they are betting it as, I think now is the hour for Gavin Cromwell, 7-2, Hattie Kilore 4-1, Transmission 9-2, 7-1 Captain Cody, 9-1 Jerry Clorow, and 10s bar those. If my betting is going well, I'm hoping Gavin Cromwell is coming into this one on a 3-timer with a favourites chance, but now is the hour. Melina Girl and Total Look after winning the Fred Winter, of course, obviously. Gavin, the National Hunt Chase, it's going to be a long day, getting stuck into another big handicap. I'm not sure if I'll be getting involved too heavily. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's probably a bookie's dream again. These handicaps are very, very competitive. 18, as he said. Number 19 is the one will be my selection if he gets into the race. Is a work in progress for JP. Has been very progressive, has bolted up, including the last day at Lingfield. He's in here off 10 stone 4, 121. Now, he might not get in, but just if he does, he's definitely worth something each way. Lots in with chances. Resplendent Grey will be ridden by Sean Bowen, who has given 2 of the best rides we've seen this season. He'll be really suited to Resplendent Grey, who's been kept for this. Stutzucchini won the Tri-Town on decent ground in Navan. Step Up and Trip will definitely suit him. Captain Cody finished just ahead of Now Is the Hour at Navan. He's a chance. I like Now Is the Hour a lot. I think he's very well handicapped. I think he'll win a big handicap at some stage. I just don't know if it'll be tomorrow, Tuesday, because of the ground. It's a bit of a worry. If the ground was even good to soft, I'd like him a lot. I think he's going to drift a lot. I could see him SPing at like 5-1 or 6-1. I don't think he'll SP at 7-2 or 4-1. I think there'll be a lot of opposition to him, but he's got a massive factor in having Keith. I think Keith is brilliant, particularly over in a staying distance. Like even you see the ride that Keith gave Heart to a Dark yesterday at Nace. Now he got chinned in the end, but he's an amazing pilot in these staying chases. Hattie Kilore is a great chance. Has been kept for this. 3 spins over fences. Beat Transmission a couple of runs ago, and the 2 of them had a spin over hurdles since, just to get their eye back in and keep their rating right. The 2 of them would stay forever. Patrick gave Transmission a super ride a couple of runs back in Cheltenham when he won. So like, there's lots that you could fancy in this race. Jericho Rock that we mentioned was off for 2 years and had a nice first run back. If the ground was soft, I think that Now Is the Hour would be one of the bets of the week. The ground being good is definitely a little bit of a worry. Maybe he'll get away with it once. Sometimes there's an old saying that a horse will get away with good ground once, so maybe. But if the ground was soft, I'd be all over him, yeah.
Yeah, it's pity not getting that good to soft ground. I suppose we'll have a few races to see how it's riding by the time we get to the last, but I'll have my feet up watching this one, and I can't see myself having a bet. And it was one I used to really enjoy. It used to be kind of always a great betting heat. Like last year, you had Corbett's Cross, Embassy Gardens, 15-8, 7-4. you know, you'd Statler versus Run Wild Fred, Galvin versus Next Destination in previous years. And it was kind of a nice one, I thought, for the punters, like the end of maybe the Tuesday, you know, if you'd missed the Supreme winner, you backed the wrong horse in the Champion Hurdle, you'd have a good chance of getting maybe like a high class horse, maybe not to the level of a Brown Advisory, but you could pick from maybe the top two in the betting. And yeah, look, another handicap. I won't be getting stuck into this one anyway, at least. But Gavin, we'll wrap up the Tuesday preview. But before we go, I'll ask you for your best bet of the day on the Tuesday.
First of all, it'll be interesting to see if the 4-timer comes up. I think it's 6 or 7 to 1 for the 4 hot pots to win. It's a very strange day tomorrow. You've got 4 odds-on favourites, and then you've got 3 handicaps that are absolutely a minefield. Just for an each-way selection, maybe Cribilli each way in the Ultimate.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I suppose there'll be plenty of punters on that big 4-timer, but I'm going to go for one at a bit of a bigger price as well to stay away from the odds-on shots. I think Cala Conti has a massive chance in that mare's hurdle. I think 16 to 1 each way with Boyle Sports. She could be coming up the hill well. Maybe hard to see her beating Lossiemouth, but worth a chance at 16 to 1 each way, I think. But Gavin, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks very much for your contributions today. We'll be back again tomorrow to preview Wednesday's racing, and we'll be back throughout the week to cover the whole card across Cheltenham. So I hope we found a few winners in this show. If you want to have a bet, make sure to gamble responsibly, and make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content.